All right, hello everybody, welcome to the stream. Hopefully it's going to be good quality. YouTube last minute give me some kind of notice, stream this, stream that, but we are here and we are live and we are ready to talk some Casio watches today. And in fact, I have 10 different Casio watches. I'm going to show them to you here. A little preview. We're going to talk about them all individually, but that gives you a sense of all the watches we are going to be talking about today. Now let's have a look, see how this stream is. Hopefully it's working decent. I want to just have a quick look before we get going here, make sure YouTube isn't playing games with us here, so we can talk about this stuff in an appropriate way. Okay, I think it's good. Just a little buffering, it seems like. So let's talk about some Casio watches. Anyone looking for a watch box? I got this off of Amazon. It's a little dirty. I should have dusted it if I was going to show it off, but 12 spots, and it was only $30 or something like that. Very nice watch box. If you do have a bunch of these watches, if you're going to acquire a bunch of inexpensive Casios, do yourself a favor and get a watch box like that. It is just totally worth the price of admission. So let's give it a go. Let's talk about our first watch today. And I'm focusing on inexpensive Casios. So I have a G-Shock we're going to go over at the end, but I want to focus on inexpensive Casios. And the first one we're going to talk about is going to be the Casio F-91W. Now this comes in at a width of 35 millimeters and then a case height of 8.5 millimeters. So this is a very small watch, and for a lot of people, this is the Casio watch that you need to have. And one of those one of those people includes me. Getting an F-91W is just a total no-brainer. This is such a classic watch. Take a look at this here up close and personal. Just a beautiful watch face. It's very straightforward. There's not too much going on there. But this kind of sets the tone for digital watches, right? This is the single best-selling watch that has ever been made, and they still sell an absolute ton of them, which is crazy, but it's like people are still buying them because people really like them. Now, the worst part of this watch is the backlight. You have to say that. So if I'm just showing you face on like this, you can see the backlight comes on a little bit, right? So you see it's that little tiny light. So it's kind of part of the charm of this watch that the backlight is terrible, Like, I'll try to emulate in the dark here a little bit if I can, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's sort of, you can see the hour for sure. If it's very dark, you can see the screen totally, but if it's kind of mixed lighting, it's gonna be all over the map. You don't really know what you're gonna get. I gotta have a drink of this hot, delicious coffee here while I talk. There we go, that's very nice. So the watch face is small. If you don't have good eyes, this one might be a little bit too tiny for you. But as you can see, you have the day, you have the date, you have the PM. You can also use this in 24-hour time, military time, people like to call that. Then you can see in the top left, that's telling us that both the alarm is on and the hourly chime is on. So I'm gonna go ahead and click this bottom left button, that's our mode button. So one alarm on here. If you want to turn the alarm on or off, as well as the chime on or off, we're gonna press this bottom right button. And if we want to set our alarm, press this top button here. Oops, there we go. Let's set our alarm. And now it's set for 5:29 a.m. rather than 4:29 a.m. So it's got also built in a stopwatch feature. This is one of those features, you see this on a lot of watches, but it's like, are a lot of people using stopwatches on a day-to-day basis? I don't know, maybe they are. Myself, I don't find myself using it too often, but when I am wearing a Casio watch, I sure do use it a lot more often. So I think if you have a stopwatch on your person, you're more likely to use it. That does stand to reason, right? Now, when we go through the settings there, if you ever interact with something, it's going to send you right back to the home sort of main watch face. But if we go through, you come to the last setting, that's how you're going to set this one here. And so we are going to move between the various elements by pressing this top left button. January, see it says January 12th here for some reason. I don't know why it says January 12th. I think I had set this wrong myself. It's hard to go through all the settings when you're watching yourself live on camera, I can tell you that. There we go, 11, let's change this to 11 since it is the 11th day. You can press it or you can hold it. Both are gonna work the same. One's gonna be a little bit faster. And there we go. So now that's on the 11th. Ooh, now that's on the 11th, January 11th. So I have a 6.75 inch wrist. Oh, I got a mustache hair that wants to go right in my nose here. That's okay. We'll deal with it. So I have a 6.75 inch wrist. I want to show you what this one looks like on my wrist. I also like to wear my watch up high, sort of above the wrist bone. Just give me one hot second here. There we go. Fix that up. Need to be fixing the mustache on camera. So that's what it looks like on my wrist there. Maybe a little tiny bit tight, you know, you can, don't know, but this is easy for, yeah, that's probably one too tight. So just a very basic strap on this one. It is a plastic strap, plastic buckle, plastic tang, you know, as you're going to imagine for a watch of this cost. But that sits on your wrist just like that. It's very, very small. It's very wearable. You're not going to notice it. It's going to easily slide under any sort of a shirt sleeve that you have there, any kind of a jacket. Some of the bigger watches, my Apple Watch Ultra, does not play nice with certain jackets, right? So this is about as small as you can possibly get, super, super wearable, and just has that classic vintage Casio look. And this is the most classic Casio you can possibly get. So that is the Casio F-91W, 35 mil, and 8.5 for the total height. Now let's grab our next watch here, and this is going to be our Casio F105. So a 35 mil case on that, like our F91W, 9.6 versus 8.5. So a little bit thicker than our F91W, but I gotta say, I really do like this watch face. Let's take a look at a nice close up there. So you can see it's an interesting face. It has a lot of blue. If you don't like blue, this might not be the watch for you, but it has all the writing on it. As you notice on a lot of Casio watches, they like to tell you exactly what the watch does right on the watch face: water resistance, alarm, chrono, illuminator. That's one thing you notice that's different from this watch than the F91W. That one doesn't say illuminator, and this one does. Now let's just show you right away. Check out this, right? So let's try to get some dark here, right? So you see just complete and total screen illumination in this mode. So this is the exact opposite of the F91W. That one gives you very poor backlighting, very poor illumination. This one gives you fantastic illumination, right? If you guys can hear me loud and clear, give me a thumbs up in the chat. I see we got a few watching there. Let me know. It is nice to hear from everybody. Thank you for watching. Really do appreciate it. And I want to hear your favorite Casio, so do not be a stranger. If you're here, don't be a lurker, be a chatter. So as you see though, this reminds you of the F91W. It's very similar. Similar size, similar look, similar build, similar features, though it's not, you know, exactly identical. Again, on our watch face here, we have the day, we have the date, we have the time. Not huge, but not tiny. I don't find it hard to read at all. You can press this bottom right button to go to 24-hour mode. Now, if we just go through all the features here, we have our alarm, one alarm, we have a stopwatch, and then that's how we set the time, and that's it. So this is about as basic of a Casio watch module as you're going to get. Try to position this over here a little bit better. So this is about as basic of a module as you're going to get. Your alarm here, turning the alarm, so you see that in the top left. So right now that's telling us our alarm is on, so this is going to go off at 4:28 a.m. Right now it's telling us our hourly beep is going, so it's no alarm right now, it's only the hourly beep. And then if you see both of them, of course that's going to be both of them are going to be going off, both the alarm and the hourly beep. My current favorite watch is my Timex Waterbury. Interesting, I'll have to check that one out. I've been looking at some Timex watches, but I didn't know where to jump in, like the Iron Man, kind of an obvious place. I'm just very in the Casio world, so that's helpful to hear a recommendation. So I was interacting with the alarm there, so now when I press this mode button, see it takes me right back to the watch face, it doesn't go to stopwatch. Whereas if I don't interact with the alarm, I go to stopwatch, then it's going to put me to the watch mode, the time setting mode, you see, so it doesn't just send you right back there. So I'll show you this one on my wrist. You know, for most people, multicolored subdial one. Okay, I will check that out. Thank you for the recommendation, Poppy Eddie, and thanks for letting me know. So there's this one on my wrist. wears very much like the F-91W, though it is thicker on paper. You know, you're not going to notice that when you're wearing it. This is still about as low profile, about as shallow of a watch as you're going to get. Has that same plastic buckle, plastic tang, plastic everything on there. It's what you're going to be finding at pretty much all of the Casio watches at this price point. And oftentimes it seems like it's pretty much this exact strap here. So very wearable watch, but having that illuminator is a night and day difference. Like, make no mistake, when it's bright here, you can even tell like when it's kind of bright. So just imagine that in a dark room as compared to the F-91W. So if you're buying the F-91W because it's cool, it's a cool watch to have, all that kind of stuff, it is, and that's 100% true. But this, if you're planning on it being like a real day-to-day, this is going to be my watch. I'm going to wear this thing. I'm going to, you know, this is going to be my day in, day out kind of watch. You might want to look at the, sorry, I'm just adjusting my mic here. You might want to look at the F105 because it's just a way more usable watch with that backlight, right? So that is the Casio F105 on here. Oftentimes you'll find these on Casio's, on Amazon's website, on Casio's website, and it'll be the F105W, you know, it'll have different variations because there's different color combinations. Sometimes there's negative display dials. Sometimes they can have longer straps. So what I'm giving you is sort of the base letters. That's what's on the back of the watch, and then it's going to go out from there in terms of what they're going to be called based on the variations and what have you here. Now, this one here, this is a bit of an interesting watch. This is, I believe, I have so many little pieces of paper. I believe this is our W-217H, oh, W-800H. I was incorrect. So this is the Casio W-800H. Only minor complaint I have about F-91W is the light. Otherwise, well, try the F-105. Try that F-105. It is pretty much the F-91W with a proper backlight that actually works really good. Also, it's very inexpensive. Like Canadian, we're talking like 20 bucks, $21. Like it's a very affordable watch. So this is the W-800H, 37 millimeter width, 13.4 millimeter depth. So quite a bit more depth than you're seeing with those other watches. 13.4 is, you know, decent in terms of watches in general. Bit of a different strap. It's still that same rubber strap though. Bit of a better tang. Buckle looks to be about the same, but you can see it's just a little bit more interesting than the other watch there. There's the back of the watch case there. Casio stainless steel watch back. Now, one thing that's really interesting about this watch here that you'll notice on the watch face, it has the year. You very rarely see that. I gotta be totally honest, it's extremely rare where I'm like, what year is it? You know what I mean? But I do often say, what's the date? What day of the week? You know, this one gives you all the information you could ever want on this thing. So it tells you it's Saturday. It tells you 1:49. In the top right, it's going to be telling you if you have your snooze alarm on, an alarm on, or your hourly signal. And then below the time, you're going to see the year, the month, and the date. If you want to go to 24-hour time, this bottom right button. And the light on this one is right here. So it again has that same sort of single green backlight, but it actually lights it up quite well, right? So you can see this one. So it's like they implement the same technology that the F-91W has. There you go, that gives you a good sense. But it's just portrayed or played out way better. They do a better job with the technology, and it just makes the watch a lot more functional when it is dark. And chances are you will be wearing these things when it's a little bit dark. So it's a bit of a odd looking display. You know, you'll notice the display sticks up a little bit there. So it's a bit of a fatty, but buttons are very easy to press, and there is 4 of them rather than the 3 we've been seeing up to now. So going through our modes, so this is an alarm. We're going to come back to here. Stopwatch. This is the dual time, so this is a secondary time zone if you want to keep track of another time zone. And then back to our main watch face here. Now, one thing that's cool when we go to our alarm, so I'm going to hold this to set our alarm here. So what you're going to see, well, let's see, does it move? How do we move about? How do we move about? Okay. See it here. I think we move about by pressing this button. Nope, not that one. By pressing this button. There we go. No, not by pressing that one. Is it by pressing this one? By pressing this one. There we go. Okay, so that's 6, now it's 6:30. But now I can set this watch so it's only going to come on. You can do it for 6:30 every day. I can do it 6:30 right now. This would be on February 4th. This would be on March 4th. Or I can do this so it's going to be, oh, very cool, I like that, gold face F-91W. So I want to show you the other way you can set this watch. So now this is going to be through the month of March, the alarm is going to go off at this time. Now, so it's just, it lets you set it in just so many different ways. It has the most complex alarm. I believe there's another one that I've seen that matches this, but this is the most complex alarm module. So you can set it for 6:30 in the morning in this example. Every day you can set it 6:30 with a snooze alarm on. Then you could set it for 6:30 every day during a specific month of the year, or you can have it set for just a specific day. So for like a calendar day of the year, you have an alarm that goes off at a certain time. So really lets you get granular with this one. But it's got a bit of a bigger watch face. You know, anytime you have a bigger face like this, it's always going to be a little bit easier to use, just a little more real estate to move around with. And then the dual time zone. What you're going to notice though, on the bottom here, so right now when I'm messing around with my alarm, I can still see it's 1:52, right? So right now, if I'm using my stopwatch, I'm interacting my stopwatch, I'm doing whatever, I've got the time on there at all time. I really like that. Most of these inexpensive Casios, you don't see that, and you just have to go back to the main face. So if you're on, say if you're doing some, you know, grade school races or something like that, and you're timing a bunch of kids, you know, you're gonna need two watches or to go back to the mode if you want to see the time. But not on this watch. It keeps having that time the entire time on there, which I do like. So let's go ahead and put this watch on here. Again, my wrist has not grown or shrank, about 6.75 inches, give or take. It's a little tough to measure the wrist sometimes, I find, but this is a decent size strap. So that's how that one looks on my wrist. You know, it feels larger than the F-91W. It feels larger than the F-105, but it's not getting to the point now where it feels large. Like I feel like I could do push-ups, no problem. You know, you can articulate your wrist in any way, and this isn't getting caught. And then keep in mind, I wear my watch up high, so I've got it above the wrist bone, right? People call it a hand watch sometimes. And I don't find this to be restrictive at all. I have small wrists, so I need small watches. I love my cheap Casios. I remember them being everywhere in the 80s and 90s. Yeah, for sure. You'd go to, you know, Sears, Walmart, the Bay, wherever, depending where you lived, and they would have all these different watches, right? So, and that's the fun thing about like recollecting them. I've all like recollected these. These aren't old Casios. They're, you know, classic Casios, but they're new to me kind of thing. And you can get yourself a collection like this for like a few $100s kind of thing, right? Buy them in small pieces. I wouldn't buy them all at once. It's more fun if you kind of space it out. But yeah, this is a very wearable watch. Time's a little bit bigger on here, so a bigger time readout, as you can see. And then it just has all that info. So if you're the kind of person that forgets what year it is, first see a doctor, and then after that, get yourself one of these watches. And I think you'll be very, very happy. So let's check out the next one in the collection. Now the next, these are in no particular order, by the way. These are just somewhat randomized. Now this one here, you know, I gotta say, this is kind of an ugly duckling in the collection. Some people are gonna love it. Some people aren't going to. Oh, Poppy Eddie, you got the calculator, F91, and the A168, and the LF20. Interesting. I don't know if I have that, but we're gonna go over a lot of them here. Now this one here, this is the F201WA. So I'm gonna get that right here. So the Casio F201WA. So this is coming at a width of 34 millimeters and then a depth of 10.5 millimeters. Now, like I say, this one's a bit of an ugly duckling. Looks are subjective, you know what I mean? You tell me if you think it's ugly. Maybe you think it's the coolest looking Casio ever. I think one of the reasons I say that is just the shape is a little bit weird. The strap is a little bit weird. But then the buttons, the big ass plastic buttons, I just don't necessarily love those myself. You know what I mean? I just think they're a little garish kind of thing. Just if they went with smaller metal ones, if the watch was more rectangular shaped, you know, I just think they could have done pretty much anything with this one to make it a little bit more interesting looking. But there is a reason to like this watch. So it has 5 alarms on it, as you can see on the screen. Dual time, 10-year battery, water resist. It's funny how they put all this stuff on here. Let's check out the light. Do my best to bury it. Okay, so good. That same green LED, but you can see it very, very well. It does an actually good job at illuminating the screen. That's going to be the top right button. You can see it actually says this is into the plastic here. Light, start, stop, mode, and adjust. So let's just go through the modes here. Alarm, so that's alarm 5. There's 5 alarms like I mentioned. This has a timer. So that's the reason that this is such an interesting watch, because you do not find many inexpensive Casio watches with a timer. There's some out there, right? But they do not make the majority of them with timers. And so it's one of those things, if you're looking for an inexpensive Casio with timers, your choices are limited. And this is one of them. But the interesting thing is not only does this one have a timer, but it has an auto repeating timer, right? So you see that I'm pressing the light button when it's in adjust mode, and then you're seeing A RPT turn on and off. So now this is going to be a 20-minute auto repeating timer. So that's going to mean I turn this on, it's going to count down to 20 minutes, it's going to beep, and it's automatically going to start a 20-minute timer. So if you're the kind of person that does interval training, or if like this would be helpful for work or something like that, I've heard quite a few people really like that auto repeating timer feature. And it's one of those things that's kind of funny too, because I have, some nice G-Shocks. Most G-Shocks have a similar kind of module in terms of feature set. Not all of them. There's like, the Rangeman and that sort of thing. But and I don't have repeating timers on there, which is just crazy. Like that's not a common feature. And so to have both a timer and an auto repeating timer on this inexpensive watch, it's just kind of crazy, right? So tempered glass watch face protectors work great for these watches too. Keeps it nice and crispy. That's a good idea because, I have some of these that are still absolutely pristine, and then I have some of them that got scratched up, like my Casio Royale, the 1200, got scratched up so quickly, and I was just so disappointed because I know it can happen, whatever. Like first time you kind of touch it against something, it's always possible, but you're just like, damn, I just got this thing, right? So I have multiple of these inexpensive Casios, and the screen is absolutely pristine, and I wore them in the same way. But yeah, getting a screen protector is a good idea. I've also heard you can use the Poly Watch on the screens to restore them. I haven't tried that yet myself, but maybe I'll try that and make a video on it, because that's another way if you do have these surface scratches on this. And then again, you have a dual time mode here. So going into the alarm, so let's see, start, stop, where's our mode, light, let's see, mode, okay, so that's how we move around here. So this, again, I can set alarm, oh, so this is the, I'm telling you, this watch here, it has like the God module, because this has the same features that I just showed you on that alarm, that you can set it on a specific day, specific date. Well, this has 5 different alarms. So I can go between my different alarms here, and they can all be set up like that. So you can have alarm 1 can go off at 4:29 in the morning. Alarm 2 can go off at 2:30 on June 4th. Alarm 3 can go off at 4:20 on 4/20. And then you can have alarm 4 go off at 6 a.m. in March. Like, it just has a very complex module that you just really don't see in too many Casios. And then it's also like a very inexpensive watch. So at the cost of how it looks, hey Tom, how's it going, man? Good to see you. Hey Tom, let's get you set up, man. Where's Tom? There we go. Boom. Now you're set. So I'll put this on my wrist here so you can get a sense of what this one looks like. And there you go. So that's this one here. Like I say, it's not my favorite looks-wise. I just, it's a little square. There we go. I know. It's, I like to throw in the little subtle jokes there. Sometimes people get them, sometimes they don't. Sometimes I probably think they're stupid, but it's my channel. I get to make the stupid jokes. So that's what it looks like on my 6.75-inch wrist. Maybe it looks a little bit better on the wrist than in hand. Face, I find, is quite easy to see. Buttons, I think there was another watch there. Buttons are easy to press. Like I say, they're very, very large. So it's going to be, hey, thank you, Tom. Appreciate the support, man. So it's going to be very easy to press these ones. But yeah, not my favorite looks-wise. But the number one module well, I'm not going to do the other one I was going to do next because that's maybe the other one that would be in the competition for best module, but this one is up there. That's the F201WA. Now, we're going to go a different direction here. Now, this one, let's go something very, very large. This is the Casio AE-1500WH, coming in at 51 millimeters and then 15.7. Now, I want to show you this one here. Yeah, it does look better. I agree. It looks better on the wrist. So this is by far the biggest one in, I think this is the biggest inexpensive Casio they make. I haven't seen a bigger one, and it's massive. The one I have here has an extra long strap as well, so this does come in a version with a shorter strap. So you don't have to get one this long, but if you're a big dude, you got big ass wrists, this is going to be the one for you. But it's a very big watch, very reminiscent of a G-Shock. It really, really does look like a Rangeman, but of course it doesn't have even close to the feature set of a Rangeman. A Rangeman's a very expensive watch, and this is, you know, kind of the opposite, right? So, but it's about the same price. Like, this is right in the same price range as the F-91W, all these other watches, which is kind of crazy because you just get a lot more bang for your buck with this watch here. They always want to stay on my forearm. Oh yeah, I know. I think I'm just fortunate that my wrist bone is quite prominent here because I like them up high and they stay up high for me, right? So, but yeah, if you know, because I hate that. I hate that when they feel like they're sliding down my arm. I want it tight. You know, I like it tight in place there. So an interesting looking watch face on this one here, much bigger. If you have bad eyes, this is the one you want to get. It's right there. Super prominent time display. You have the seconds at the bottom, you have the day and then the month and the date up in the very top there. And then you see on the right side, it has this little extra animation here. And this is sort of a count up with the seconds and then a fill up rather, and then an unfill in 10-second increments. So I really like this one, all the aspects of it, except how this 15.7 millimeters, that's where it runs into problems, because this is a very hard watch to wear if you were going to wear, yeah, very reminiscent of a G-Shock. Like, it's, you know, if Casio didn't also make the G-Shock, this would be a, you know, a shameless G-Shock clone basically. But since Casio makes them all, it's just like this is a Casio version of a G-Shock essentially. So 4 big metal buttons, you know what I mean? Like, this is like the least cheap feeling cheap Casio that I know. I want to show you the different modes here. Let's go through them all. So that's the alarm, you see a theme here. You know, I'm not that creative. So you have 5 different alarms that you can set, and it looks like it also has that same module on here, which is our adjust button. So this has that same sort of module that you can set it for a certain day, certain month. 5 alarms on this one as well, so you're getting the same sort of a module in terms of functionality that we just saw on this one here, which is, you know, a little more visually challenged, I think. But some people probably think this one's ugly because it's so big. So it's always going to be subjective. A lot with watches depends on your personal style and how physically large you are. If you're like 6'6", you weigh 300 pounds, and you're wearing this watch, you know what I mean? Like, it's going to look very, very small on you, right? And conversely, if you're wearing this watch and you're, you know, 4'2", 70 pounds, it's going to fit at your bicep, right? So that's why they make so many different watches, so many different sizes. So on this one, we have a timer here as well. It's not auto repeating, but that's fine. You know, it's a nice feature. It's very special to that watch, but having a timer on this watch just makes it a super handy feature. It's probably the one complication, the other mode that I use in these Casio watches more than anything else by far. So it has a stopwatch, but look at the stopwatch. You know, the animation, this just looks like there's more going on with this one than the typical Casio at this price range that you're going to see. So I really like just how easy it is to use, easy to press the buttons, that same dual time mode so you can keep track of a different time zone at the same time. And then we're back to our regular watch face. So this is in this kind of green color. Dubster, you got AE-1500, 4 of them. Oh, wow, very cool. Do you have this one here, this kind of a military green? It's a very, you know, rugged-looking watch, so I went with this very rugged-looking color for this one, but I almost went with a negative display just because it's such a big display. I think the negative display is probably easier to see on this one. But I want to show you how this one fits here because she fits quite large. So, let's see. So yeah, this is like, now when I'm on this big strap here, look how much I got this cinched up. Like that might be one too tight. But you know, I'm getting close to the very end on this one. So this strap is just absolutely too big for me. But like I say, if you have a much bigger wrist, this is going to fit the bill just fine. So there's that one on my wrist. So that's a whole lot of watch, right? So if you're not the kind of, like this, almost, you see this here, like this is how you know it's too big. This is like sticking up here. This should be like back here, kind of more underneath your wrist, not sticking out up here. So like I say, if you're getting this one, probably don't get the one with the extended strap unless you have a reason for it. So this is one of those watches where if you don't like big watches, if that's not your style, if that's not the look you want to go for, you can bypass this one, right? You can just automatically get rid of it. This is the biggest one. If you like big watches, if you like chunky watches, there you go, right? Then this is going to suit your style. This one, I find it does get in the way a bit because I wear mine up high. Like all you have to do is like if you put them up here, now it doesn't get in the way at all, right? But I just hate that. I hate that feeling. It just, I have to move it. I just like them up here and I like them tight, right? So when you have it up here, you know, it's going to be a little more restrictive, get in the way, but even if it's here, you know, good luck having that fit under a standard jacket. If you have a jacket with an elastic cuff, you can pretty easily pull it over kind of thing, but it is just a very, very big watch. But you get a lot of watch for your money. Get a pair and use them for extra cardio and jogging. That's not a bad idea. If they made it out of, you know, put an iron plate on the back, I mean, that would be set up for that. So yeah, a very big watch, the AE-1500WH, but honestly, one of my favorite in the inexpensive Casio collection because it's just such a nice looking, rugged, big, easy to see, easy to use watch. Very, very durable. Like you see, the screen's kind of protected under this little plastic array here. So they did a really good, like wait for a gaming mouse. There you go. They did a really good job with this one, and I really do like it. Now we're going to switch it up here with the, anyone who's a fan of Breaking Bad, you've probably seen this one here, or if you've been alive for a certain period of time. And this is the Casio, one of their calculator watches. This is the Casio AE-53W. So very, very small, coming in at only 34 millimeters and then 8.2 millimeters deep, right? So this is a very, very small, lightweight watch. And when I was doing all the numbers here, it made me think, I'm like, I wonder why they made the watch with the buttons that you have to press one of the smallest watches that they make. You know what I mean? Like they should have made the ones with the buttons that you have to press a little bit bigger so the buttons would be easier to press. You know what I mean? Like I just find that a weird decision. Like, you know, think of how much easier a calculator watch would be if it was this size, right? So just a weird choice, you know what I mean? But this is, I guess they wanted probably to make the smallest calculator they could. Like this was, when something like this came out, like there was a time, hey Brady, how's it going, man? There's a time when this was like the height of tech, you know what I mean? Like this was it kind of thing. But anyways, this was featured recently on Breaking Bad. You find it in Back to the Future. It's in a whole bunch of movies. Now, one thing about this watch, it doesn't have, hey, appreciate that, Tom. Peter Products, I like that. This watch does not have a backlight, which sucks. It's the only one I have that doesn't have a backlight. I guess they could have made it a little bit bigger and had a backlight, because the backlight really reduces the functionality, the lack of a backlight. Because if you use this and it's not bright, you just good luck trying to see it in these kind of lighting conditions, right? You're not going to. So, David Swan, I don't know if I should be watching this. I've already bought 3 Casios in the last year. Well, I hope you're talking about 2024, because if you're talking about 2025, take a little break, you know what I mean? You're 11 days in. That's not bad. Casio every couple of days. You can manage that for a while, you know what I mean? But come back to it later when you're ready. So same sort of a plastic strap on this one. I think the strap looks very appropriate, you know, like just the little bit of work they have done on the strap, like these little extra notches and stuff like that. I think it just fits in with the overall design aesthetic of the watch. So I'll show you up close so you can, we'll go real close here so you can see. You can see we have these buttons, but there's text on the button. So you're seeing lap, reset, you're seeing alarm on, off, you're seeing date, signal on, off, start, stop, as well as the numbers and the heck is the pluses and minuses? There's equations, I guess. There's a word for that. But so that's basically how you use this one. Now on the side, you'll notice it has two buttons when you see it from this angle, but last 12 months, there you go. So from this angle, you have one button, but you see you actually have two buttons, and this button is just depressed in here, recessed, I guess. So if I want to set the watch, I go like this. It's really easy to set though, because you just press that button to get it into setting mode, go like this to move it around, and then you just press the numbers. I press a 1 here. Okay, I can do 5 and then 2, right? So very easy to set this one here because it has numbers. And then if you don't want to set it, you can just move in between all of the different things and then get back to this main mode. A little tough to press that button. I just cut my nails here, so they're pretty short. So it does have a couple different modes. Obviously a calculator mode, you know, that's pretty obvious. So let's go 59. Then which is I think that's divided by, there you go. So it tells you 59 divided by 3, and that gives us 19.6 repeating, right? So really, you know, like I say, when this came out, having a calculator on your wrist was like total game changer. Teachers used to famously say, you know, kids would say, why do you have to learn this stuff? And they'd say, well, you're not going to have a calculator in your pocket all the time. Little did they know, you literally do have a calculator not only in your pocket, but probably on your wrist. And you could have one on your wrist back in like the 80s when these were released, right? So teachers really got that one wrong, but you should know basic math, whether your teachers say it or not. I think it's a good idea. So the calculator mode, you know, like I say, it's more, you know, trying to use this on your wrist like this. It's not like it's doable, but it's just, you know, it's for occasional stuff. You're trying to figure out a tip or something like that, splitting lunch, sure. But if you were using this like for work, I think you'd have a really tough time, you know, interacting with that all the time, unless you have tiny, tiny, tiny little fingers. So let's go through all the modes. Calculator, it has an alarm on it, one alarm, a dual time mode, as well as a stopwatch. Stopwatch is kind of cool because you control it right here with the buttons. Where's the reset on it? I'd have to look at the buttons more. But that's the start stop. You hear it does have a nice loud beep on it though. So I do like the overall interface. I'm just kind of pressing buttons randomly here. I know there's a lap button. I don't even know if I'm hitting these. We're just gonna go out of this mode here. Pretend you didn't see anything there. Now it does also tell you the date if you press this upper right button. So it's telling us the year, month, date, and it's always going to say Saturday. So let's try this one on here. Like I say, this is a very small watch, and especially for having all of these little buttons that you're interacting with. But it wears very nice. It's a very easy watch to wear because of its small size. So there we go. That's the Casio CA-53W you see on my wrist. Probably the, you know, with the F105, F-91W in terms of how easy it is to wear. This I feel like is more of a conversation piece because the F-91W, like the people that know, and they're gonna say like, oh, nice, and they're gonna appreciate the, you know, somewhat irony that you wear it in, you know, it's just kind of like, oh, it's cool, it's old, it's simple, like, you know. But I feel like something like this, it was just more of a conversation piece because like people see you have a calculator watch, and it's like, oh, that's kind of cool, right? I just think people are more likely to mention that than just having like an older digital watch. You know what I mean? Like if you just wear one of these, no one's going to be like, wow, that's so cool. This guy has a Casio at the timer. Like you're wearing this one for you. But if you want to wear one, you know, get the ladies talking to you and you want to go the cheap Casio route, I think this would be my #1 choice for that purpose. So there you go. Very wearable watch. I mean, arguably the most functional just because it, the way it's built and what it do. So let's check out one of my favorites in the lineup. I really like this one. This is the Casio, This is the Casio AE-1200WH, 42 millimeters wide, so decent amount wider than we've seen. 12.5 millimeters is the depth on this one. So people call this the Casio Royale, the World Timer. I don't really know where the Royale name comes from, to be totally honest. But this is the one, can you see those scratches? I don't know if they really show up as well. You know, it's one of those things you have to catch the light at the right angle, but this one got surface scratches so much faster than all of the other ones I've owned, which is just weird. So that same sort of strap on it has this extra, I feel like it has an extra little bit of grip on it. You know, like if you look at this strap here, it doesn't have any extra grip, and this one has these little extra tabs for grip here, right? So a little bit of an upgraded strap on this one. This one is a little bit, you know, it's in the higher end of the cheap Casio lineup. But it's got more going on. So it's a much more interesting looking watch face, has the illuminator on it. So illuminator is very good on this one. I think it's just one LED, but I mean, look how much that lights up the entire watch face there, right? So very good job. And also has afterglow. So you see when you press the button and it stays illuminated for like a full second, that's called afterglow. Whereas some of them have it like in this watch, you'll just see when you touch it, it's just on off just with the touch, right? So this is a better implementation of that, which is called the afterglow feature. So on the watch face here, you see we have our time, we have our day of the week, our month, our date. Up in the top left, we have an analog little clock, LED in both corners. Yeah, oh, you're right. Yeah, that's why it's so good. Yeah, you see one down there, see one down there. Yeah, some of them do it with one LED. They do a good job, but it's, you know, two, you're going to just have that better coverage. So you're getting an analog clock in the top left, which is cool. You know, not very useful because you have a digital clock. It's really difficult to look at this one and not automatically see this in your vision and just know, but it is cool, and that's going to come into play in different modes. And then you see it has this world map. So this has different world time modes here. Just by pressing this bottom right button, I'm going between the different world time zones. And you see that map is also moving as I'm moving it, right? So this is like you can pre-program in a few of them that you can have right from the home screen. You see it says T1, T2, T3, T4, back to T1. So that's the YVR. This is in Berlin, this is in London, and then this is in NYC. So because this is like a world timer watch, that's just available right from the home page, home screen, watch face, which I think is cool. Now the first mode you're going to go is going to be in the world time mode. And so you can just go between all the different time zones in the world here. Yeah, it looks, you know, these things, it's like, it's tough you can only get so close. You can get pretty darn close to some of these to see the detail. But this is like, you know, these are fairly small watch faces. So, you know, you can only see them so good kind of thing. Yeah, good contrast in this one. I've also seen some people do some really cool mods on this one where they've somehow like taken the watch screen out and then like almost painted the map green, so it has like green beneath the color, so you can really see the overlay when it has that color selected. So I don't know how to do that, but I've seen people do it and it's really cool. So you can go to alarm. It looks like we have 5 alarms on this as well. So that's our alarm signal on and off, 5 different alarms on here. So 5 alarms is not uncommon. You also get a timer on this one, so it's like it's got a great watch module. And now, as you'll notice, in the top left, in that section, it has our time. So now that becomes a lot more useful because now this has that same sort of function where I can be using the timer, I can use a stopwatch, whatever, keep my eye on the timer, but also have the time available at all times. And I really like that feature. It has your stopwatch. Again, you're seeing the time up there, as well as the map. The map stays there the whole time. It's like part of the backdrop kind of thing. And then we are back to our regular time here. Royale, because it looked like a Seiko G757 that James Bond wore. Ooh, I'll have to check that one out. Oh, that's why they call it that. Okay, I'll have to check that out though. But yeah, this one is a nice, I think this is like one of the nicer looking watches. I just like all the different segments that it has on the face. Let's go ahead and try this one on here. Now it is bigger, like you're seeing that 42 millimeter measurement, but none of these except for the, is it the 12, the 1500, the big monster one, they all wear reasonably well. Like none of these are at all taxing to wear or difficult. So, you know, you're getting a little bit more restriction. When I move my hand in fairly extreme manners, like, you know, throughout the day, you're not typically going like this with your hand, right? But yeah, wears quite well in this position. Doesn't look too large or anything like that. Time is very easy to read. It's right at the bottom of the screen, which I think is sometimes better for having your wrist positioned like on a table than having it right in the middle. But yeah, it's a very, very wearable watch. It's more of a square shape, so wider here and not as tall, whereas you're seeing some of them like this one here, whereas that's more of like a square, even almost like a reversed rectangle. I know it is a square, but it feels just so much taller, whereas this one feels a lot wider. So it's a very wearable day-to-day watch. Definitely one, if you like to actually wear these things as daily drivers, a great choice for a watch here. Not one that you're gonna outgrow quite as fast. Casino, oh, okay, David with the info, I like that. Looks like a timepiece than a watch. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, so this is definitely one of the favorites in my collection. And a really good watch if you are doing any kind of traveling and you don't like the smartwatch kind of route. This is a good one to go with. So we got 3 more watches we're gonna cover. We're gonna cover a little drink of coffee here. Now, this one here, this one is fun. This is the Casio W-217H. 41 mil diameter, 10.5 depth. But when you see this watch here, it's probably going to remind you a lot of an F-91W, right? So this is essentially a big F-91W. This is the F-91W's bigger brother, the W-217H. So take a look at that there. This has a whoa, dropping it. This has an absolutely massive time readout on it. And then one of the things that, you know, I'll try to demonstrate in this video, but this is the loudest one I own. Like when I have these all set up and the alarm is going off on all of them, this one is noticeably louder than the other ones. I still wouldn't trust it as like the only alarm clock that's gonna wake me up in the morning or something like that. But I just noticed that this one is, maybe just because of the larger size, it is a bit larger. So a long strap, fairly basic strap here, smooth as you can see. Just a standard sort of a plastic buckle and tang on it. I wish the strap had a little more to it. Like I just find it's a little plain, you know what I mean? If it had just an extra little bit. How many likes we got here? Let's see. We got 14 watchers, 14 likes. That is, we literally couldn't do any better. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate that. Tom B is the like cheerleader. We need those people. I appreciate that very, very much. So this one is for those people who want an F-91W, but it's too small for them. One thing you notice that it's like the watch face is a little bit offset from the body. Like, can you see how it seems to stick below it? Like it sits there a little bit different than like this one, for example. So take a look at this one up close. Like it doesn't seem like there's like much of a gap. And then when you look at this one, you see it clearly sits below there. So you can get some kind of shadows coming from the edges in this one in more extreme circumstances, I would say. This is the light button here. No sort of afterglow. Uh-oh, internal temp. We got camera getting too hot. That's okay. We got, what's this camera doing? Hold on a second here. We got 2 cameras that are playing games with me. Let's only have 1 camera play games at a time. Hold on. Give me a second here. Give me a second. At least we still got some audio, hopefully. We got some audio. What's with our phone cameras going on? Hold on. We got 2 problems at the same time. That is unlikely. That is very unlikely. Let me see what the heck is going on here. Wow, that was unexpected. The heck's going on? That's so weird. Sometimes there's some problems with like 1 camera, but having like all problems with all cameras at the same time is not something we typically have happen. But we're gonna work through it here. That's just really weird. The one was like overheating. And this one here, I don't know what happened with my iPhone one here. It's kind of screwy sometimes. Let me just try plug it and unplugging it. The master fix for the majority of life's problems. It doesn't want to play games anymore. Let's try one more time here. It doesn't want to play. Doesn't want to play games. Okay, we're going with the camera that works. We're going with the camera that works. No, nothing in common really, Tom. I mean, no, really nothing. One's plugged in directly. Well, the one just overheats periodically. So it's like that one's easy, but the iPhone going down at the same time, it probably just, you know what I mean, triggered some little unhappy thing or something like that. But we're going to get back to our proper camera here. Let's give this a half second to go. And then we want to make sure we look all nice and pretty for y'all. Let's give it a second. There we go. It seems to be happier now. There we go. Okay. We got it. We're going like this. Okay, we're going to this one here. Yeah, no, I like a warm house, you know. So you see the big watch face on this one here. We'll go through the different settings. One alarm, very large everything, the stopwatch, and then that's how you set everything. But this one wears a lot bigger on the wrist than an F-91W. As you can imagine, I mean, it's a substantially larger watch, so it makes sense that it also wears a lot larger. I just wish that, like I say, the strap had a little bit more going on there because it's just not one, it's just so basic, right? So there it is on my wrist, quite a bit larger, still very easy to wear. Not as much, you know, some people think the F-91W, the F105, it has too much going on the screen. This one, it doesn't feel like that. Let me try this here. Try unplugging and replugging this here. Oh, I heard something. I heard something. Let's see. We might be back. We might be back. Yeah, no, doesn't want to play game. What is your, give me a half second. What is this thing's problem here? This is very unusual. I want to try to solve this if possible. If not, it's not, but it's just not, it just decided to stop. Just weird. Anyways, we'll go with the one that works. That's the nice thing about having a live stream. You have to have many other options of cameras and stuff like that, just in case. So that is the the W-217H rather, the larger brother to something like this. Larger, and you know, some people are going to find that a lot better to use. But no, you know, I'm not, Tom. I do wear my watch on the, you know, the wrong hand, if you will. It's just like when I go in to try watches, they think I'm super weird because I'm doing it on the opposite hand, and then I like to wear them above my wrist bone kind of thing. But I did a poll on my channel one time just to see, you know, what was the most common, and it wasn't as uncommon as I thought for people wearing them on their right hand. But yeah, usually it's for people who are left-handed, but I'm more of a ambidextrous kind of a guy. I play drums, so you got to be a little ambidextrous. So this one here, this is a fun one. This is in the Casio Vintage collection. This is the Casio A168, and it's the gold, sort of a metal. Now this body here, this is like a plastic body that has kind of a chrome finish, but the strap itself is metal. So it is a metal strap. It's easy enough to adjust. You're not taking any links out or anything like that. You're simply moving this thing on the band. I have a hard time doing it. My better half, she's able to do it, no problem kind of thing. I'm sure if I tried, it'd be a little bit easier, but I know what I'm good at and I know what I'm not good at, you know what I mean? And it's stuff like that. So we'll see the modes it has there. So it has a single alarm, just a very basic module, has your stopwatch, and then that's how you set it, and then that's it. So that's all there is to the module. Has that nice illuminator, so the full screen illumination. When you see it has the like electroluminescence or illuminator, that's the different level than the LEDs, and it looks a lot better. It's so much easier to use, you know, as a daily driver kind of a watch. This one's a little, like getting it on, I find sometimes a little tricky. The clasp, like it's easy now, but when I was first setting it up, the clasp was a little bit funky. But there you can see it on my wrist. This one, if you do have a lot of hair on your arm, you won't have quite as much after you wear this for a while. I do find it likes to pinch, you know, little arm hairs and that sort of thing, but not crazy. I don't find it like problematic, but occasionally you're gonna be like, ah, but if you're like a really hairy dude kind of thing, like your forearms are super furry, I don't think you want to wear a strap like this. Like, honestly, you're gonna have a bad time kind of thing. So, but you know, if you're just like, you know, sort of regular, it's gonna be a little pull in here and there, but nothing too crazy. But I do like this watch because I like watches with metal straps. It just feels like a little bit elevated. It feels a little bit more fancy, a little bit higher end, but you still maintain cheap touchscreen watches. Ooh, that sounds like a bad combo. But it still maintains that Casio digital charm while still getting yourself, you know, a nice proper metal bracelet wristwatch. And this doesn't only come in the gold. This also does come in a standard kind of a stainless steel variety as well, right? So that is the A168. And we come to our final watch now. And I saved this one for last. Scissor lift style bands. Yeah, I think that's probably how I would describe this one here. This is the Casio WS-1600H, 42 millimeters wide, 12.5 deep, and then check out that one there. So this one has probably the most interesting looking face that we've had so far. It just has a lot going on. As you can see, it has the time, has the day of the week, it has the month, it has the date. And then up top, it has three different kind of status bands for the seconds. One of those, I believe, is counting seconds. One is doing groups of 10 seconds, and then one is doing minutes. So it just has a lot more going on the face. And then, of course, they're going to be utilizing these in the different modes as well. And if you also look closely, you'll notice where it says Saturday there. Excuse me, I gotta... So much talking, my mouth gets so dry after. And I don't know how teachers can do it, man. Like in lecture hall all day, I don't know how they do it. Fisherman's Friends or something like that. Now you'll notice where it says Saturday, you'll see that has a different sort of a text. It's not these sticks, it's like little dots. So this one just has an upgraded screen overall as well. So let's find the light button. So again, you get those dual LEDs at the bottom, fully lights up the illumination, no problem there. Let's go between our modes. It has a stopwatch. This is really hard to do. I'm surprised how well I'm doing this opposite mode right now. But you see up at the top there, like you see that stuff is measuring our sub-seconds. It's going to be measuring seconds, groups of 10 seconds, and minutes up top as well. So just visually, it's much more interesting than a lot of them that you see. Here we have our timer. Again, it's going to be utilizing that to count down essentially the sub-seconds on there while our timer counts down. As you can see, it says 2:29, nice, big and bold digitally. So you can keep track of the time at all times on this one, which is very, very nice. Here it has an interval timer. I honestly, I don't quite understand this mode. Like it is just a little bit even further than I would normally go with it. But you can get very granular with the timer on this watch. Now, one thing that I really like on this watch, as you see, I'm pressing this button here. I guess that's going to be the top left button. And it has preset timers. This is the only Casio watch that I have that has this, and I absolutely love this because it's more often than not, I'm going to be setting the timer for 30 minutes or 35 or 40 or 45 or 10 or 12 or 50, you know, I'm not usually going to 17 minutes and 30 seconds or 31 minutes. This I'm going to use more often than anything else. So just by pressing this one button, I can go, I gotta press the right button. But just by pressing this one button here, you can go between the different preset timers and then start it. So I really would like to see that implemented on more Casio watches because I think it's a very, very smart feature. And then again, the interval timer on this one, like I don't quite understand it. I looked into it and I'm just like, this has a lot going on. So like this is really made for like the collegiate coach type thing, you know what I mean, that wants to keep track of some very specific stuff for very specific reasons. But other than that, you know what I mean, you're probably just use the pre-built timer, and you can also change that timer to whatever you want if you're using the interval one. So this one here is probably, with this one and the Royale, probably the two I would wear as like daily driver watches the most, just because I find they have the most going on, the most visual interest going on, as well as the most functions built into them, right? Nice lights on both of them. None of them are too big, very easy to wear. Just check this real quick here. Yeah, I was hoping it came back, but she's gone. So there it is on my wrist. So it wears quite well. I do like this blue color. I think it gives it just a nice little pop of color. It's not like a bright blue or anything like that, so it's pretty wearable on a day-to-day basis. And it's small enough that it's going to go under a shirt sleeve reasonably well. Time is big and easy to see. And I just like all of the functionality that's built into this one. I want to show you this one side by side with the Royale here, so you can get a sense of these two watches, the two screens and the two modules together, right? So you can see they're quite similar in terms of shape, quite different in terms of function, but they wear quite similar as well. So if you like wearing one, you're probably going to like the other one. So I would say out of all of these watches here, the one I probably would wear the least on like a day-to-day basis, if I had to choose one, I want to choose the one I would wear the most on a day-to-day basis, and then the one I would wear the least. I was hoping to have a really nice overhead shot for this, but you know, my camera wanted to play games with me, so we're gonna go with a non-overhead. This one here, this strap is like so much memory, it doesn't even, I can't even set it down. So I would say out of all of them, the one I would wear the least would probably be this one, the F201WA. I'm just not a fan of those plastic buttons, and I'm not a huge fan of the shape. I don't really love the strap. So it's just like there's not too much that I do love about this one, and there's a lot of things that I don't love about this one. So this would probably be my least favorite of the bunch. You know, favorite is always tough, but I would say if I'm only going to wear one, it would probably be this one here. That's the last one I showed you. Just because I just feel like this one is just an elevated Casio. It has way more features. You get that upgraded screen. It has the time on it at all times when you're in the other modes. So it just has a lot of features going on that I really do appreciate. So very good watches overall. So I hope you enjoyed that stream. Sorry the one camera cut out, you know, at least we got one camera, right? I'm very happy that we at least have the one camera, which is very, very good. But thank you so much for joining me, guys. I really, really do appreciate it. And that is a whole bunch of different inexpensive Casios. So we will see you again for another video very, very soon. And now we will end the stream.